my like selfish portion of this whole thing is starting to focus on you and your professional journey. And obviously I met you years and years ago, and I don't even know if I was growing a beard back then. I think I was clean shaven when you first met me. But so I kind of know the origin, but I don't have like the detailed version of it. So what I want to know is like, where do you plant the flag as like my beginning point? And then I kind of want to know all the like the big decisions, the hard decisions that took you into, I mean, guess basically right up until now, like right up until this merger, or like maybe pre-COVID, something like that. Like give me the professional journey of Chris Vendilli, because this is what I really enjoy, is getting to hear the tough decisions that people went through, because I think this is valuable, that a lot of people just get to see the company after it's made, right? They get to
They
see
think it's overnight success, when
right.
it's like 20 years in the making.
And I obviously I've been through a couple companies that didn't make it, and the one that I'm in right now, I'm really invested in. So I'm hoping that this is the one that goes. But so I know the effort and the amount of failing and the amount of lessons learned from those failures that need to take place to get there. So I like to put that front and center to people, so that they can't just be like, oh, this happened overnight, and like, oh yeah, like, oh, like, what would you know about struggling? It's like, bitch, I ate hot dogs for 5 years straight. You know what I mean?
Right. Maybe some ramen noodles on Fridays for a special
Right.
occasion.
Exactly. Yeah. Just for a little treat, switch it up.
So yeah, I guess my journey's, I think everyone's journey is unique, but mine took a few twists and turns. I went to Pitt for economics and international business as a freshman. I ended up hurting my shoulder playing hockey for the Pitt Panthers club team, which was probably a good thing in the end. I realized I wasn't really ready for school, rehabbed the shoulder, and joined the military. I came home, and I think this is how we first met. I went back to Pitt and decided that economics was not my favorite topic. And I switched to information science. While I was going to school, I started building websites kind of on the side. And it's actually started with a class project. I'm going to date myself a little bit, but I wrote a paper about how to market your business on MySpace. I was always maneuvering, and I used it for an English class, and I used it for a computer class. Same paper. And I had a professor, I forget what the name of the class was, but it was an information science school. He's like, this is pretty good, and there's not a lot of information about this. You should think about maybe making this into like an ebook and seeing if you can sell it, or get some downloads online. So I made like a one-page website, which I used that for another class project, by the way. And I set up a little opt-in form, and I had like a couple thousand people signed up for it pretty quickly. And a little light bulb went off, like, they downloaded this thing like while I was asleep. What if I charged a few bucks for it? What if I added like, some more production value? And ultimately it kind of grew into an info product with like a paid membership forum. And I at one point had like 40,000 people signed up for it while I was still going to Pitt. And I did it again with a how to sell on eBay course, where I recruited a couple power sellers, interviewed them kind of like this. This is like 2004, 2005. So I kind of got the bug. And then I took the job with the city, as you know, and I thought I could like have this secret mailbox money from my side business, but then go be a Pittsburgh police officer. The word got around that I was quite the nerd, and did go to Pitt for info sci, even though I never quite finished. And they promoted me to detective and stuck me in the computer crime unit when I was thinking of jumping ship, which actually made it easier to kind of do both jobs. So I was building websites by day and working in a forensic lab at night. And just, one day at a time, one little project at a time, build it up to a point where I wanted to make it my full focus. So about 5 or 6 years ago, I resigned from my position as a detective to see how far I could take it. And by that point, we had a couple 100,000 in revenue, some good clients. I had 2 full-time employees. I got an office space actually close to police headquarters intentionally, so I could work there all day and then pop over to headquarters at night. And as the team started to grow, I realized like I wasn't going to make it doing both jobs until I could retire from the city, which was my intent. I was going to do this as a side thing until I could lock down that pension. And I was burning the candle at both ends. I mean, those are the days that don't make me feel bad for the days we have now, like when things are good. Because I remember when I had a newborn daughter and another one on the way, like I'm falling asleep everywhere.
Yep.
I was like a zombie, just putting in the work. So I asked myself, like, what if I gave this 50, 60, 70, 80 hours a week instead of splitting equity between two gigs, two careers, basically. So I think around 2014, I left the city, and every year's been better since then. I think every year is going to be like our breakout year, but I'll take 20, 25% growth year over year. That's pretty good for us.
Yeah,
that's healthy.
I can't argue with that. So when was like I asked you the question about like, what are your thoughts about, something that you might have believed 18 months ago that the last 12 months proved, and just things like that. I believe that intuition with people who are entrepreneurial, people who are very business minded, I think that plays like such a big role in their ability to make decisions and kind of have some confidence behind it. So like at what point did you have like the intuition that you're like, this is for sure something I should go for? Like, this is really working. Let's do it.
I can almost narrow it down to a single thing, and not to shine a bad light on any one particular person. But I had a disagreement with a supervisor at one point, actually multiple points in my police career. And I realized, this particular instance, the supervisor was completely wrong. And it was a relatively inconsequential thing, something very silly. And it kind of was, I think, helped me wake up a little bit, that when you work for someone else in general, or you work in a position where the only way to make more is to work more, it's self-limiting is not the right word, but it's, you're not truly free, And I think that was what, like, personal freedom to me is huge. Like if I wanted to
make more is like the snake eating its own tail.
Exactly. Yeah. And I kind of had that realization at one point. I liked what I was doing. I still love what I'm doing. I miss certain aspects of my last gig, like the camaraderie and that sort of thing. But there's a lot of aspects I don't miss. And the freedom was really what helped my light bulb go off. Like, you know what? It's time. And I just like with the recent deal with Media Post, I kind of reworked the family numbers and the business numbers. Like, what's holding me back here? And, what am I missing? What's the real potential if I just believe in myself, invest in myself, and go for it? And, there was kind of a sequence of events the last couple of months I was at the city. Nothing, like I said, nothing bad happened, but just like little squabbles over silly things, like who left this piece of equipment there, or why is this locker not emptied out? And I'm just like, this is nonsense. Like, we're all adults. Like, why am I getting sweated over like this silly shit? I'm out of here. I'm gonna go see what I can do, with this business and invest all my time and attention into one thing. And I left on good terms. I was on great terms with everyone I worked with, and I don't think that they ever felt that like that pushed me out or drove me out or anything. But I felt like I had a unique opportunity. I thought that what I was doing was only going to increase in demand. And I liked what I was doing. So I just wanted to, like I said, kind of take control of my own destiny.
Yeah. Was there anything about your systems that you had in place where you kind of recognized like, oh, this is pretty scalable. Like I can grow this. I can add other people to this and like mix them in pretty easily.
Yeah, I think one of the things that was a difference maker for us looking back and anyone in our industry who's listening is I always recognize like anything with a recurring revenue or residual on it was attractive. So if you look at web design shops that don't also offer like hosting or a maintenance plan or something ongoing, so that they basically establish a long connection with each client. They tend to be project shops and they go through big lulls that are scary and painful. And from pretty early on, I realized that was something that would make it more scalable. So, I never got to a point where like one client meant that, oh, great, I got this great new client. Now I can afford to, leave this other gig and do this full time. I very slowly built it up. And I had 2 jobs for about 3 years where I was working essentially 2 full-time jobs. One of them happened to be for myself. And as I started to, develop my own little processes and document them, I think that was another key concept there was writing things down, outlining things, leaving a playbook, that someone else can follow. That's the only way to truly kind of remove yourself from the equation. So between, having that sort of recurring revenue model on some of our projects, not everyone took it, but the ones that did, so I have some clients from the very first project I did for them like 9 years ago, they're still a client today. Whether it's $50 a month or a couple thousand a month, depending what we're doing for them, that really allowed me to carefully grow. And then the second part was kind of developing some processes and systems that others could follow, and then investing in the people that we bring on board.